Hello and welcome everyone to the Cyber Dev Nerd channel. I hope you're doing well, as today we'll talk about quite interesting findings that I shared with my friend almost 3 months ago. We were talking about virtual desktop that you can use and create on your Windows operating system, and also about the forensic artifacts that are left in the registry. The article didn't get as much as attention as I hoped, which is a shame for me, but for that I decided to create a video. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into the content.
Okay, guys, as you can see, there are four different items on our agenda. First, we'll start with introduction to Windows Virtual Desktop. Then we'll talk about forensic evidence in the registry. Then I will demonstrate you a RegRipper plugin which I created. And at the end, we'll talk why it's important during your investigation. Starting from the beginning, we have to understand what that feature is and why it was created, and then of course how we can create that desktop. And once we create it, then we need to know how to manage them. That feature actually, this is not something new. It was introduced in Windows 10 in July 2015, and that allows user to create and manage multiple desktop. The idea behind is that with multiple desktop, it's easier for you to organize your work, and it's easier to switch from one set of application to another. I tried to use that feature several times, but for some reason that's just not for me. I didn't like it. However, I know that there are some people who use it, and I also strongly believe that it can be something useful. Other operating system like macOS and Linux, they also introduce a similar feature, but here for the purpose of that demo, we'll only talk about Windows 10 and Windows 11. To create a new desktop, the only one thing that you need to do is to press Windows and tap on your keyboard. Once you do that, there is an option to add a new desktop. In my situation, everything is in Polish, but basically there's like a new desktop plus, and that's it we need to do. So let's create a new desktop. Actually, we can create a few of them, right? And now by clicking on the specific desktop, we can jump to that window. And now, as you can see, the previously open Chrome tab is like, it has just disappeared. And to show that, we can start Chrome one more time. We can navigate to Google. This is our Google page, right? And now if I press Windows, tap again, I can jump to my first desktop. And again, we have my blog. This is how it works. This is how it works. Pretty easy. Within Windows 11, I have observed that you can also rename the desktop. Okay, so let's press Windows tab again. And here I can right click on that. And the first option will allow me to change the name. Okay, so it's change name. I will do that, and I can, change it. I don't know, let's call it DFIR, for example, and that's it. The name of the desktop is quite important, especially for the second section of that video, when I will show you how you can discover that desktop in the registry. But that's it. It's very easy to use, and you can add new desktop, you can delete them. I can also show you how you can delete it. So Windows tab again, right click on the desktop, and there is a way to delete, to close the desktop. So let me click that one, and as you can see, the desktop called DFIR has just disappeared. We can jump again to my first desktop, and yeah, that's it. This is how you can add new desktop, this is how you can manage them, and then of course how you can delete some desktop that, you know, if you don't if you don't need them anymore. That's it for the first section. And now let's jump to the registry, and we will see how we can discover that from a forensics point of view. Okay, once we know how to manage virtual desktop, let's see what information we can extract from the registry about them. The main key that we want to check is here, current user software, Microsoft Windows, current version, Explorer, virtual desktop. So looking at that path, you can immediately know that there will be a separate configuration for each user, which of course makes sense. The first key that we want to take a look at is that one. On my system, there are some subkeys like this desktop, and then for each of them, I mean, under the desktop, there are three different subkeys. We'll get to that in a moment. In the screenshot that I'm presenting here, and in my article, let me open that in the new tab. It will be easier for us to review it. Here, there are no subkeys for the main for virtual desktop. What does it mean? This is the first information that you need to be aware of. If there is nothing else, even if there is no no subkey for your main desktop, that means that the user has never created or deleted any desktops. Okay, so I took that screenshot on the system where I never created any new desktops. Okay, so this is how it looks like. This is the one of the most important information that you need to keep in mind. Once you create a new desktop and then delete it, you will get some entries here. You will get two subkeys. Hold on, let me see that. So you will get desktops, and then it will be at least one subkey for the desktop. And that one, it will be a key for your main desktop that you always use. So yeah, I know it's a little bit confusing because you can say that so that key should be always created. Yeah, I also think the same. However, this is not how it works. That key will be only created once you create the first virtual desktop. Okay, so that's it. Now, each desktop, of course, everything that I'm telling you is included in the article. So if you want to get more details, you can review it and see what I put here. Going further, what is important for us to know is that each virtual desktop is identified by a 16-byte identifier. Okay, and this is something that you can see here. So right now, I have three virtual desktop: desktop 1, desktop 2, and desktop 3. And oh, I'm sorry, let me jump to the first one. And for each of them, there is a separated registry subkey created. Okay. Uh, in addition to that, under virtual desktop, there are three values. I will focus on the first one and on the last one. Current virtual desktop. Here you have the identifier for the currently used desktop. Is it important? Yes, it is. Because now if I restart my system, after the restart, this is the desktop that will be used. Okay, at the very beginning, immediately after the restart. And the third value, here you have a list of all virtual desktops that were created on your system. These values actually are GUIDs. Okay, I'm talking about that here. Hold on, I'll show that. It's here. Okay, here I also open. Here I also open that value. And as you can see, as you can easily notice, something was added. Now we have 32 bytes long value. Because there are two virtual desktop, okay? In that example, there were two virtual desktop. What's important here is that now if I delete a virtual desktop, which I will try to do now. So let's say that we'll delete the last one. Right click, close. Let's jump to the first desktop and let me refresh that path. So as you can see, one subkey was deleted. That's obvious. This is what we're expecting to see. And here under virtual desktop, the third value was also modified, right? Again, only two IDs. But what's very important to understand now is that so let's imagine it's a situation that we are performing the investigation, we can just collect the registry hive for all users, right? And then, normally you would parse them, build a timer, whatever you usually do. But let's imagine the situation that we make a collection for that system. We parse that registry key, that registry hive to get that registry key, using, for example, tool created by Eric Zimmerman, or You can even use RegRipper. If I'm not wrong, there is a plugin allowing there is that's not I think it's not a RegRipper. I think that Haran created a separate tool basically allowing you to extract Slack space. You can just use Registry Explorer, and here you can also review the Slack space. And I think that I did it somewhere in my article. Give me just a second. Oh yeah, I did here. So of course, here it's on the screenshot. So if you parse the entire registry hive, you can retrieve the Slack space, okay? And from the Slack space, in that situation, you would still discover the ID for the third virtual desktop, which actually has been already deleted. We don't see that here, right? Because there are only there are only identifiers for first two desktops. But if you take that registry key, if you take that registry hive and parse it and take a look at the Slack space, you will still see, if you're lucky enough, you will still see ID for the third desktop. Okay. Now there is one more thing that I need to tell you that registry keys and values are a little bit different on Windows 10, at least on the version which I was using for my test. On Windows 11, I was able to get a subkey for each created desktop. However, on Windows 10, there was only one key, that one, virtual desktop. And information about other desktop, about all desktop created on the system, were only available under that value, virtual desktop IDs. Okay, so that was a big difference. And I also believe that you can find it here. Let me see. So here you have registry keys and registry values that I was able to find on Windows 10 machine. Okay, so like I told you, just one key and no subkeys, and one value where you can extract all information about the desktops. On Windows 11, as you can see, the situation is a little bit different. Here, for each desktop, there is created a new subkey. And then for each subkey, there are some extra values. Let me show you that. So let's focus on the first desktop. And here, as you can see, there is one value for a wallpaper. And you have a path. The same for the second desktop. Now, if I rename, or maybe let's do something else. I will add a new desktop and I will rename that one. Let's call it DFIR. Let's jump to the first desktop and refresh the registry page. Now, as you're expecting, a new subkey was created, but now in addition to the wallpaper, there is a one extra value called name. And here you have a name of that desktop. Okay, so this is how it looks like. What does it mean for us? So first of all, you can discover if virtual desktop was ever created. How? Well, if there are some subkeys created, right, or if there is any value under virtual desktop created, then it will mean that the user, the suspected user, created a new desktop. Maybe then it was deleted, it doesn't matter, but you know that there was some interaction with that feature. Going further, of course, you can retrieve the information about the desktop. Even if you're working with Windows 10, it's still not a problem. It will look a little bit different because you will have to parse that specific, or you will have to parse it, using a RegRipper plugin that I will show you in a moment, or just manually looking at that value. On Windows 11, the entire situation is much, much easier because here for each desktop there is a separate key, and for each key, for each key that was created for desktop, there are some values where you can discover the information like the name and the path to the wallpaper. Okay, I think that it's pretty easy to understand that. And now I will show you the plugin for RegRipper which I created and which will automate everything that I just showed you. So let's jump to that and see how you can use that plugin in action. Okay, and now it's time to talk about the RegRipper plugin which I created. The plugin can be downloaded from my GitHub page. The link to that page, of course, you can find in my article. So this is it, and this is what you need to grab. Of course, in addition to that, you also need to download the copy of RegRipper. I use the version 3.0, but I know that there is like a newer version 4.0. But unfortunately for 4.0, my plugin doesn't work. I would have to take a look what changed, and then I will try to adjust my plugin to that version as well. For now, we can just use this version and the plugin will work fine. Once you have both things, you also need to make a collection. Okay, so you have to get a copy of the registry hive that you want to parse. Of course, you have to make sure that you will collect that registry hive for the correct user. Okay, I have already done that. So this is the registry hive that I want to parse. And here I have a copy of RegRipper. But in addition to that, you also have to make sure that you copy the plugin I created to this folder. Okay, so there's a folder named plugins, and here you need to copy the plugin that you want to use. And in that case, it's called virtualdesktopspl. Okay, once it's here, you're ready to run the tool. So let's jump to the command line, and we will run the tool using my plugin. And this is how the output looks like. Okay, we will compare that output with the information that we have in the registry to make sure that we extracted everything that we needed. At the very beginning, of course, you have the key, which we're looking for, virtual desktops, and the last write time for that key. In addition to that, the plugin was able to extract all information from that value, virtual desktop IDs. Okay, it means that the plugin will also work for Windows 10. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that one. If plugin discovers that you're actually parsing the registry hive from Windows 11, it will also try to extract extra information, right? Like a current virtual desktop and then details for each subkey created under the key name desktops. Okay, that's very important because we really need that information. On Windows 11, of course, you will not see that. It's fine. You will just get these IDs and last write timestamp for virtual desktop key. Okay, we just parsed the collection, we just parsed the registry from Windows 11, so we have that extra information. And for each virtual desktop, we have the time. Okay, so it's pretty nice to have that time because it will indicate when that virtual desktop was created or maybe deleted or maybe modified, maybe user, change the wallpaper or just rename the desktop. So for each desktop, we have the time. And of course, for each desktop, we have extra values. For first two, we have wallpaper, just one value, because if you take a look at the registry, only wallpaper was set up, nothing else. And for the third one, and in addition to the wallpaper, we also have a name of the desktop, which in that case was DFIR. Let's validate that information. Indeed, this is the name for that desktop. So this is how the plugin works. As you can see, everything is automated. You don't need to worry about that one and about that, and you don't need to parse anything manually. You just extract all that information, and that's it. Now, knowing how you can use the plugin and also knowing what information can be retrieved from the registry, let's jump to the summary and summarize everything that we just talked about. Okay, and the last item on our agenda, it's finally time to discuss the importance of this artifact and forensic investigations. There are like two scenarios, at least in my opinion, where the use of virtual desktop may be significant. Okay, the first one is when user is trying to hide some suspicious activity that he performs on the machine. Of course, he would try to hide that activity from the view of others in the office, in the building or in the room. It doesn't matter, but you know what I mean. We know that there are other artifacts that we can parse and build a timeline, and obviously we would discover what was happening on the system. But knowing that user was using some virtual desktop may be important for you, and maybe that will, you know, give you a hint that okay, something suspicious was happening here. And there is a second scenario, right, where malware is using extra desktop to run a malicious software. There are multiple different malicious samples that try to do that, but the truth is that when I was creating that article, actually, I was performing on that test to discover if there is a way to prove that malware use extra desktop to run a malicious code. And at the very beginning, I was pretty sure that everything that we discover here would also apply to that scenario. Unfortunately, that's not true. Further research, as you can see in the article, revealed that the use of create desktop doesn't appear to be reflected in the registry. Okay, I'm still testing that, but I, check so many different things, and I was not able to discover any artifact on the system that would indicate the usage of create desktop. And then Googling that topic a little bit more, I just discovered that this feature of virtual desktop that we presented here, this is not the same thing like a create desktop, which like the Windows API used by malware. This is something else. And I proved that. I created my own application. This is it, right? This is the code which I created that will try to open Firefox in a new desktop, which will be called CyberDefNerd. So we can quickly run that executable. Give me a second. And now let's review processes that are running on the system. There should be one entry for Firefox. And there you are. It was started by Visual Studio and the application I created. And now Firefox is running in a new desktop, which is called CyberDefNerd. This is how it was designed. Okay. So now we can jump to the registry. We can refresh, regedit, and as you can see, nothing has changed. Still just three virtual desktops. Okay. We can of course use Win and Tab to see what else we have here, but there is nothing for the desktop which was created by my code. Okay, and that would be all. So, unfortunately, this is not something that we can use to determine if malware was running in a different desktop. No, but it's still something that we can use when we are investigating user behavior on the machine. If you're suspecting that he was doing something suspicious or maybe even malicious, and then you're also suspecting that he tried to hide this activity, it may be something that you definitely want to check and of course add to your timeline. I think that in the near future I will also create a second plugin that will print all that information in the timeline output, so you will be just able to run the plugin, parse everything, and append to your timeline. Okay, that will be all for today. Thank you very much and see you later.
Okay, and that would be all for today. Thank you very much for your attention. If you found that content useful, then of course don't forget to click the subscribe button and ring the bell notification below. And I also highly encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn because this is actually the place where I post quite frequently. Yeah, with that, thank you very much and see you in the next episode. Bye!